I really feel that parents learn so much when they hear somebody such as yourself speak. And one of the interesting comments from many years ago, when you and I were talking about a major league athlete, Chris Taylor, and you told the story about how he was one of the final cuts on your roster, during his time at UVA. Parents now, they see this 34-man cap and they wonder, are the days of the late developer, the late bloomer, the high school senior that kind of went under the radar, are those guys now still going to be given a shot or an opportunity? Can you break down now with regard to the Division I landscape? Is there still room for the late bloomers? And the follow-up question would be, aren't we all now in today's world really slowing the recruiting process down that really benefits the late bloomers? So now that senior year becomes a recruitable year for any college athlete, not just at Mississippi State.
100%. I don't know any coach, Walter, that's going to turn down, if they have room on their roster, is going to turn down a player that possesses the ability for them to help them win championships in whatever timeline that is. Okay. I mean, we are still actively recruiting 2027 recruits, and they just started their senior year, right? We got a couple of guys coming in on visits. It's not too late. Yeah, we started a year ago recruiting the 2027 class, but we're still got our eyes on the guys out there and we still have some spots. And sometimes those are the best guys. You bring up the Chris Taylor story, just to make that quickly, Chris Taylor was the third infielder in that class. We had two guys committed to us a year prior to that, right? And all that Chris Taylor wanted was an opportunity to compete. Give me a chance to beat him out. And he was the late bloomer out of the group. Fortunately, we still had room for him. And he went on to be a 3-year starter, a 3-year player, and obviously went on to have a great major league career. And so, everybody develops on different timelines. And yeah, sure, is the majority of it done early, right out of the gate? Yes. Okay. But, just hang in there. There's opportunity, and it could end out being an opportunity where a player goes to a junior college or a Division II and then transfers up. Okay. I mean, we have 2 junior college players that are joining our program this fall, right? And if they would have sulked and felt sorry for themselves 2 years ago that I'm not going to a major Division I program, they didn't give up on themselves. They kept working. They were late bloomers, and now they're coming to Mississippi State. Okay. So you never know. Hang in there. And, the game started to transition 15 years ago or so in the recruiting process, Walter, that everybody wanted guys younger and younger and commit. And it, and that it just fed itself, right? It wasn't too long ago. I mean, 20 years ago when I was at Virginia, you were still going to watch the area code games in the East Coast Pro or whatever it was. And then you were bringing guys on visits their senior year. And then it went earlier and earlier because of the competitiveness of it. And I think now you've started to see the pendulum swing kind of back the other way to where, and part of that's the new recruiting rules that you can't contact a player until August 1st before their junior year. And that has helped. And I think you're going to continue to see that. Is it competitive for the roster spots? Sure it is. Okay. But, we're allowed to have 34 players on our roster until these DSAs are done, right? In 2015, when we won the national championship at Virginia, we started the fallout with 31 players. It hasn't changed that much. Everybody's crying about the roster limits and things like that. Like, really most of the college coaches would prefer to only have 35 players or, 38 players. So I think the opportunities are still the same. Has the game gotten older, because of the transfer portal a little bit? Yeah, it has to some degree at some levels, but not everywhere.
And I think parents want to hear from your perspective, over the course